Hello, my name is Jim McGillivray and this is the Pipe Box, your source for all things piping. If you find this video useful, please give it a like and please subscribe to this YouTube channel to see more videos like this. We're going to go over a tune today, and you can print the music out for this tune by going back to the description of this video on my YouTube channel. You will see a link to a PDF there. Today I would like to do with you one of our iconic two-parted 6/8 marches, Bonnie Dundee. If you've been around piping at all, you've probably heard of Bonnie Dundee. Bonnie Dundee was Sir John Graham of Claverhouse. He was born in 1648. He was a nobleman and a soldier. He led the uprising against William of Orange in 1689, and he was killed during that uprising at the Battle of Killiecrankie in that same year. The great poet and writer Sir Walter Scott wrote a poem about Claverhouse in 1828, and this poem eventually became the words to the tune that we now call Bonnie Dundee. Where the melody came from, we're not sure. There were various melodies associated with the tune, but somewhere between 1830 and 1850, our tune, Bonnie Dundee, became associated with Sir Walter Scott's words. The tune may have been written by Charlotte Dolby, a singer and composer who lived from 1821 to 1885. Let's have a listen to Sir Walter Scott's words for the first verse and chorus of Bonnie Dundee. To the lords of convention was Clavers who spoke. Ere the king's crown shall fall, there be crowns to be broke. So let each cavalier who loves honor and me come follow the bonnet of Bonnie Dundee. Come fill up my glass, come fill up my can, come saddle the horses and call up your men. Come open the west port and let me go free, and it's room for the bonnets of Bonnie Dundee. Now, in addition to being one of our favorite 6/8 marches, Bonnie Dundee also happens to be one of our most difficult. If you're a advanced beginner or intermediate level piper, you're going to find this tune to be quite a challenge, and that's okay. What I suggest is you take it very, very slowly, like a long-term project, and it's going to have some little sub-projects involved as well, like working on your taorluaths and working on your doublings and your birls. So we're going to take this tune very slowly. Let's have a quick look at the whole score for Bonnie Dundee. Here is Bonnie Dundee as we will learn it. As you can see, the first part looks easier than the second part, and it is. The first part has a grip at the start of each line and a taorluath at the end. The second part, however, is one of the most challenging 6/8 parts there is. When we play the second part twice through, we will have played 10 taorluaths. 6 of them will be on B and C, and pipers generally don't play a lot of taorluaths on B and C. We will talk more about that. In this lesson, we'll focus on both technique and music. We'll talk about short notes that are on the beat. We'll talk about 6/8 march pointing and how simple it is to understand. And we'll talk about taorluaths and D grace notes. We'll also talk about how you should approach improving your technique. Okay, let's hear Bonnie Dundee played on a Dagger electronic chanter. let's start at the very beginning, the lead-in bar. We have two notes in the lead-in bar. We have a 16th C and we have an 8th note D. The reason I wanted to point out this lead-in bar is that pipers often rush up from these lead-in notes to the first E in the tune in bar 1. We need a slight pause on the D. There's no dot on the D, but it's longer than the C, and we don't want to rush up to the E. So a short C and a slight pause on the D, like this. We want to avoid this. Pause. Bar 1. I've circled the whole bar because it's a great example of 6/8 pointing and the two major things we have to watch to point a 6/8 well. First pattern we see is the quarter note E that begins the bar, and it's followed by an 8th note. You will see all the way through 6/8 marches, quarter notes followed by 8th notes. The key here is to always hold the quarter note as long as you can. Pipers tend to even out these two notes, and that turns the tune into kind of a dull, namby-pamby sort of a thing. You've got to point the quarter notes. If we look 3 notes into that bar, we see an 8th note with a dot on it, E. You also have to point those dotted 8th notes. They always appear in a group of 3 notes. They may be in the first position, they may be in the second position, but when you hit that note, you want to hold it and you want to cut the associated 16th note, so the C after that E. So I'm going to play you the lead-in notes and the first 2 bars, and I want you to hear how I'm pointing the quarter notes and the 8th notes. Okay? That's the kind of pointing you want to continue throughout the whole 6/8 march. Hold the quarter notes, hold the dotted 8th notes. It's as simple as that. 6/8 expression is not complicated. What's difficult is to remember every time you hit one of those notes to hold it. That's where pipers have their trouble. It's more focus than knowledge. Okay, bar 3. One other thing in bar 1. You'll see that I've circled the 16th note C at the end of that bar. That's simply because I often hear pipers will cut that note out of existence. You're going to hold the E, but you're going to make sure that that C is audible. In bar 2, I've put a square box around the high A because I want you to hold that. And I have put a box around the E quarter note because I want you to hold that as well. Okay, bar 3, we have 2 short C's before long E's. I've circled these because pipers do 2 things. They will sometimes play those short notes early, ahead of the beat. And the second thing is they will often get a crossing noise between the C and the E. So you want to make sure those 2 short notes are audible and clear, not overcut and not early. You're going to hold the E after it. So you want to avoid this. And you want to avoid this with a big crossing noise in there. So there's a lot to watch for in that little 6-note bar. In the 4th bar in the line, this is where the technique starts to get challenging. We have a B taorluath. I'm going to talk about B and C taorluaths and low A taorluaths in the second part. For now, let's just assume you play a good B taorluath. You're going to have a little pause before you play the doubling. Watch you don't cram the taorluath and the doubling together. And then when you play that doubling, you're going to make sure you sit on that B, which is a dotted eighth note. So the G grace note and the B doubling is going to come on the beat. Okay, don't hit that early. So that's line 1. Line 2 lines up pretty much the same. So let's hear the whole first part played on a practice chanter. In the first part, we talked a lot about music. Everything musical that we discussed in the first part will apply to the second part. Whenever we see a quarter note, eighth note pairing, we're going to push the quarter note out as long as we can. And whenever we see a 3-note grouping, we're going to push the dotted eighth note out as long as we can. Those rules still apply. In part 2, however, we're going to talk a lot about technique, and we're going to talk particularly about taorluaths on B and C. Pipers have lots of opportunity to play taorluaths on low A, not so much on B and C. So you may find your B and C taorluaths need a bit of work. And if they do, your low A taorluath probably needs a little bit of work as well. The biggest problem I see with taorluaths with less experienced players, 2 problems. One is they don't have enough low G, and 2 is the E grace note at the end of the taorluath is not accurate. So that E grace note and the E finger and the low G finger need to lift up off the chanter at exactly the same time, and then the E grace note goes down. Same with your B taorluath. Now we've got 3 notes, 3 fingers that need to leave the chanter at the same time. C. Again, the E grace note, 3 fingers have to come up at the same time. So the first thing to get sorted with your taorluaths is that your E grace note from low G up to your theme note is accurate. The second thing you need to work on is lengthening out the low G's in the middle of the taorluaths. And we do that by slowing the taorluath down to an exaggerated state where every little grace note is the same length and it's very slow. That little exercise there, 2 taorluaths on low A, 2 on B, and 2 on C, is a great way to practice those taorluaths. It's very simple, it's very to the point. You just need to play a lot of them. You'll need to play them slowly to make sure you're getting all the grace notes in where they're supposed to be at a slow tempo, and then you can gradually speed them up. If you can't play a taorluath slowly, you're going to be in very deep water when you try to play them quickly. So the expression in the first line of the second part is pretty much as we discussed it in the first part. Hold the quarter notes. In bar, one thing I really want you to do in this part, the music calls for it, is to hold the quarter note after the taorluaths as long as you can. So this one, hold that. Okay, I'm just pointing out quarter notes and dotted eighth notes that are easily neglected. Bar 4, line 3. There's a little E grace note on that low A after the C doubling. Make sure you don't play a different kind of grace note or no grace note at all. The next line, line 4, bar 1, is another challenging bar. The first 3 notes have some tricky grace noting. So you're going to play an E grace note going from C down to B, then you're going to play a D grace note from B up to C. And you're going to hold that C a long time. And hold that D. Okay, those notes you need to hold and not let the technique drive you ahead. So those taorluaths and those D grace notes tend to flummox a lot of people, especially if you haven't played them in those positions before. So my approach to a tune like this, where you find pieces of technique that you can't play, is to take those pieces of technique out of the tune and work on them as a little sub-project while you're learning this tune. It may be playing taorluaths on low A, B, and C endlessly, working on E grace notes from low G up to your theme notes, or as in line 4 bar 1, the E grace note on the short B. These little technical things. Good pipers work these technical issues out by isolating and conquering, not by playing the tune over and over and over again and hoping that those pieces of technique get better, because hope is not a strategy. One other little tricky thing in line 4, bar 2, we have an F doubling right in the middle of that bar. It's a little tricky, but make sure you don't play it early. The first G grace note is going to be on the beat, and make sure you hold the F after the doubling. The rest of the points in this part we have talked about. So much of it, as I say, is about technique in this part, and you won't be able to play the kind of music you wish to until you're comfortable with the technique. If you're not used to playing exercises to improve your technique, I suggest this be something you incorporate into your practice regimen, because that is how you make your technique better. I also have a book, which I'm sure many of you have, called Rhythmic Fingerwork, and there is great talk in that book about taorluaths, grips, doublings. Any piece of technique you can name are in Rhythmic Fingerwork, so it's also a good place to start if you're having trouble with technique in tunes, and I have discovered that most pipers do. Okay, let's hear the second part played in the practice channel. The Dager recording made at the start of this video was about 78 beats per minute. That's an optimum 6/8 tempo for solo pipers. Pipe bands may play more quickly than this. Solo pipers may play more slowly. That's the optimum tempo. Many of you learning Bonnie Dundee will not be able to play well at that optimum tempo, and that's fine. Play at a tempo that allows you to make all the technique and play the pointing that you wish to play. If you play a tune faster than you're able to play it, and your technique is incorrect or muddy as a result, you'll get very good at playing incorrect and muddy technique. If you play in a band, you're going to be required to play at a certain marching tempo, and that's fine. You may not play the tune all that well yourself in that situation. When you go home to practice, practice the tune slowly again. Whenever you're practicing on your own, play the tune the best you can at a tempo that allows you to do that. Musically, I would like you to be very conscious of 6/8 rhythm and how it differs from 4/4, 2/4, and 3/4 rhythm. 4/4 rhythm is like this. Scotland the Brave. Ho, bo, dum, bo, dee, dee, dum, bum. Straight beats. Those are straight eighth notes. Here are straight quarter notes. Ho, do, dum, bum, bum, beep. Here is 6/8 time. It's quite different. That's very different. It's a 3-based counting scheme. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. In 6/8 time, each bar has 2 main beats. But each bar also has 6 little beats. That's the 8th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how you play 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a very different feel from simple time marches. You need to point your tunes well in order to capture this rhythm. Okay, that is Bonnie Dundee. I hope you enjoy it. Take your time with it. Be patient. From me, Jim McGillivray at the Pipe Box, good piping.